All right, it's time for y'all's favorite part of the show now. It's George's picks, and if you take a look at the graphic, he's 19-5 now after a 5-3 record last week, and I'm not going to hold that against you. The three picks, you know, I mean, Friendship, Estacado, Midland Lee, we all thought that might be, you know, slam dunks. You had the visiting teams favored last week over the home teams from the week before. But let's take a look at this week's games, starting up with Midland at Lubbock High. Is it 2 in a row for the Westerners, or is the Bulldogs too much?
Boy, that's the $64,000 question right now, whether Lubbock High can repeat it. You know, and Nathan said it in the video. It's like, you know, we haven't, you know, shown that we can do it 2 weeks in a row, and that's what their goal is. You know, after watching them play Midland Lee, I wouldn't put it past them, because if they play with that passion and the way they played on Friday night against Midland Lee, you know, I think they're going to beat, you know, half the teams in this league the way they played, or the way they played right there. You know, whether they can beat Midland, I don't know. You know, Mike Speck said it. Midland was a better team than Midland Lee. It's just Lee had to score 2 late touchdowns in that game to beat them. You know, wisdom tells me, you know, to wait on Lubbock High to prove it to me before that they can do it 2 in a row. So I'm going to go with Midland in this one.
All right, now our next game, San Angelo Central taking on Monterey here in Lubbock. And Monterey, we've talked about the defense trying to play well and take over, and then the offensive struggles, of course, and finding that right combination at quarterback and on the line. Maybe this is the game that they need to try and bounce back from these 2 losses.
It may be. You know, 2 weeks ago, you know, looking at Monterey, looking at Central, I thought this would be a slam dunk for Monterey, you know, because Central was struggling, and, you know, and Monterey I thought would be playing good enough defense. You know, it might be a low-scoring game to win this one. You know, but Central, give them credit. You know, under Brent Davis has played better the last couple of weeks. You know, they gave Permian a tussle, and, you know, and they scored 30 points and put some yards up against against Midland last week. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, if Monterey's defense can hold them down. I think they will. I think it's going to be a close game, a low-scoring game. I like Monterey in this one.
All right, Coronado and Butch Henderson taking on Midland Lee this week, and of course, Butch knows everything about James Morton. He's played him the last 8 or 9 years. But does Midland Lee just have a little bit more talent in this one?
I don't know if it's Midland Lee has more talent right now, because I think they're probably pretty even on that aspect. I just think Coronado's offense is really struggling to a point that I don't know if they can do to Midland Lee what Lubbock High did to Midland Lee. I think right now, you know, Lubbock High has the better skill set of quarterbacks and receivers right now, and I think it really kind of showed. I think, you know, and I think Midland Lee is going to come back focused and ready for this one. I think Midland Lee probably gets the win on the at home against Coronado on this one.
All right, Friendship taking on Randall on the road this week. Second week in a row, they're going to be on the road for the Tigers. I saw this one last year at Tiger Stadium, and of course, it was a close game up until halftime, until Friendship finally pulled away. Can the Tigers, you know, despite playing with heavy hearts, and maybe Coach Black isn't, of course, back on the sidelines this week, do they figure out a way to pull away and get a win after the loss?
Yeah, I think Friendship bounces back, and I think they bounce back big time in this one, because Randall right now is really struggling. You know, they've got a new coach this year, and they're out to an 0-3 start, and they really have struggled offensively and defensively. They really, I don't know if it's because they're trying to put in new schemes or whatever, but they really have not played very well, you know, compared to Randall teams in the past. I think Friendship comes back. I think, you know, they'll come back focused this week, ready to go up to Randall. They know what this game's about. They know, you know, they know the tradition that this always has been a great game between them two, not only in the regular season but the playoffs as well. I think Friendship comes back. I think they bounce back big time. I look for them to blow out Randall this week.
All right, a 3A, 2A matchup going on now as Cooper taking on Idalou. 2 teams, obviously we knew about Idalou trying to replace all the guys that they lost last year. Cooper now trying to replace guys that have been hurt this season, most notably Tay Richardson. Now they got to find someone to run that team at quarterback. Does Cooper finally get a winner, or is Idalou maybe a little too much for him? You know,
this is going to be an intriguing game, because both teams have their questions going in. You know, Idalou hasn't just been, you know, the dominant Idalou that we've seen offensively over the past few years. You know, they've played well defensively. They've only allowed 7 points in 2 games, you know, and they're coming off a bye week. They had the bye week last week, so they've had 2 weeks to prepare for Cooper. Cooper, meanwhile, is just trying to, you know, find anybody to come out of the MASH unit and help them out right now with all their injuries and things they're having to struggle with offensively and defensively. So I think going to Cooper, or going to Idalou, I think is going to be a little bit much. I like the Wildcats in this, and I'll take Idalou over Cooper.
All right, Estacado, they're going to try to bounce back from a tough loss to Greenwood last week. Unfortunately, they have Snyder this week, and we know Snyder can not only run the ball now, they can pass the ball a bunch.
Yeah, surprisingly, you know, they had a Saturday game, Snyder did, up in Paladuro, and did more with the running game than they did with the passing game, and beat Paladuro 26-6. So, yeah, Snyder definitely has some good balance going on whether it's running the ball or throwing the ball. You know, Estacado's speed and their athletic ability on defense, I think, will be able to handle for the most part, everything that Snyder will throw at them. I just don't know if they can do it on a consistent basis for 4 quarters. I think Snyder's probably just going to have a little bit too much, and I think this is probably going to be a closer game than it has been in the past. But I think give the nod to the home team and go with the Snyder Tigers.
All right, Rawls taking on Lubbock Christian, our next one. We haven't talked about the Eagles too much this season, but off to a good start, 3-0. They had a big win last week. What do you like about this Eagles team, and can they win against Rawls?
Well, the thing I like about Lubbock Christian right now is their balance offensively and their abilities on defensively. You know, when you talk offensively, you're talking about 2 guys mainly. Hunter Haley at quarterback, who's got a good arm and can also run the ball. He's proven that he can beat you with the run. He can beat you with the pass. And they've got a little running back named Michael Sanders, and Michael Sanders is probably going to end up being one of the more special players by the end of the season. He's had about 150, 160-yard games the last 2 games, even more than that, in some instances. So, I like their balance offensively between running the ball and passing the ball, and the fact that they had to replace a lot of people coming off that semifinal team a year ago. So, and then defensively, you turn around, they're holding teams down. They only allow 6 points to Anton. And they really played well. And they allowed 12 points, I believe, to Smyer in the opening week. So I like Lubbock Christian in this one. I think they're going to roll. Rawls has just got too many questions. Lubbock Christian has it rolling. Go with the Eagles this week.
All right, Sundown taking on Olton in our next one. And, of course, the Roughnecks, a team, maybe a little surprised the way they beat Post. Now they beat Roosevelt last week in a close 7-6 game. Can they keep rolling and get a win against Olton this week?
I think so, but I think this is going to be another one of those big tests. Olton is playing very, very well right now. They're at 3-0, and they're doing a lot of good things. Led by quarterback Bobby Wayne Workman, who's shown some good balance this year. But I like the way Sundown has really kind of rallied off of that loss to Stratford. That's always a tough game for them, and they've struggled in it the last couple of years. But they've always been able to bounce back and reel off about 5 or 6 wins. I think Sundown keeps it going this week, even though it's on the road at Olton. I like the Roughnecks this week.
All right, maybe one of the best matchups in the next level. Seagraves taking on Newdale. 2 teams unbeaten, 3-0 right now. We've talked about Newdale. We haven't talked too much about Seagraves, but this Newdale offense seems to have everything clicking right now.
Yeah, Newdale is really going well. I like what Seagraves is doing under Coach Armando Minjares out there, first-year coach. He's really got those guys lined up, and they're really playing well, showing some great balance offensively and defensively, and just playing solid all around. But this is going to be their first really big test. I know they beat McCamey. I know they blew out McCamey, but I don't think McCamey's as good as Newdale. Newdale is an outstanding football team on both sides of the ball, and they just seem to be getting better each week. It's going to be in Newdale. Go up to North Lubbock County. This is going to be a good one, folks. Go up there and watch this game. I like Newdale in this one.
All right, so Georgia's picks for week 3. Midland beat over Lubbock High. San Angelo Central getting down by Monterey. Midland Lee over Coronado. Friendship over Randall. Idalou over Cooper. Snyder over Estacado. Lubbock Christian over Rawls. Sundown over Olton. And Newdale over Seagraves. All right, that's it. We're done here for this week on Football Fever. Be sure to tune in this week to LISD TV for Friday Night Football. For George Watson, I'm Travis Graham. We'll see you next week. Catch the fever, everyone.